Hi there, I'm Linda and this is Huttons Valley Permaculture. Well, I'm out here this afternoon in the veggie garden. I've got some harvesting to do. No, I'm not grabbing any of my beans, which I'm leaving to form the seeds now so I can save them for next season. What I'm out here to get is some zucchinis. The zucchinis are definitely slowing down now, but there's still a few that are of decent size. Six beautiful zucchinis. Now, I've recently been making an effort to preserve my zucchinis. I do have some grated and frozen. I've dehydrated just some circles so I can throw them into soups and stews. And the other day I preserved some by putting them in oil, and we're going to do that again today. I've got some beautiful ripening capsicums that I thought would go great in oil along with these zucchini. The recipe that I'm using to preserve my zucchinis along with some of my capsicums is from the Italian cookbook that I showed you the other day. And it's a great way to preserve veg and store it just in the pantry. First up, all you need to do is get your veg sort of sliced up the way you like it. So they're fairly large pieces still, really. And all you need to do is add it to a bucket. And just give it a bit of a mix around. Now I use a bucket because I don't have anything better. For this recipe you need something with straight sides because we're going to be weighting it down. Now I don't know if you can get sort of a straight-sided ceramic crock or something like that, which might sort of get rid of the plastic, but anyway, this is what I've got for the moment. Now with our vegetables in the container, I've just given it a bit of a mix around, and the only thing we need to do for today is add some salt. This is just a sea salt. I'm just going to add that, kind of sprinkle that all around and then mix it through so that salt's kind of evenly distributed through. To this, I am going to add some weight. I'm just going to use a couple of plates before adding a weight on top of this. Now it's got to be pretty heavy. I just use this kettlebell, but you know, you could use a couple of bricks or something like that, but it's just got to be weighted down. Now I'll just pop a lid over the top of that, make sure nothing drops in, and we're back to check it in 24 hours. What I really wanted to do this afternoon is not harvest zucchinis and spend time in the kitchen, but get out to my swales and get a couple more trees down. But I thought I'll get those zucchinis out the way. But I did notice something else out in that veggie garden that I need to do, and that's an emergency pumpkin harvest. The rats, having had that other pumpkin taken away from them, have started in on, I think this is my biggest pumpkin and one that I was hoping to just store in the pantry. But now that it's damaged, I'll have to do what I did with the last one and kind of preserve this or give it away to people who can use it fairly soon. Oh, well, that just broke off. Well, this one looked doomed for a storage pumpkin anyway. Now, I had previously noticed that that was getting a little bit damaged, and you can see there's kind of insects in there, which are kind of devouring it from the top. So that probably won't go too far and won't have affected most of the pumpkin. Let's get it out of there. Oh yeah, there's a few slugs on it, some more damage. Oh, it's pretty heavy though. Let's see if I can scrape that out of there. Get out of there. Yeah, it doesn't go down very deep, but just another reason, besides the rat damage, that I needed to harvest that guy. Now there's still a couple more pumpkins that I haven't really looked at, so let's go check out those two. Now this year, because I was just resetting my garden, I just chose to have a small pumpkin patch. So there's not a huge haul of pumpkins. But I'd still been hoping to get a few pumpkins that I could just sit in the pantry and store there. Oh. Now this one's not looking too bad. Just flip this one over. There's just one little mark there. But it all looks pretty good actually. So maybe this is one that I can risk storing, but I just have to keep an eye on it and see, you know, if that is a point where it can deteriorate. All right. Ugh. A little bit smaller than the other one, but hopefully we can store that in the pantry. Now the last pumpkin is just in here, and hopefully that's not damaged because it's pretty big. Now I'll have to kind of work out what vines we're on. I've still got this pumpkin here, which was a late starter, that's really not close to harvestable. And all the vines, I planted 4 pumpkin plants, and I'm not sure what vines belong to which pumpkin. So I normally like to kind of chop here and here, but I don't want to affect a vine that might be going to this pumpkin, so I might just see if I can chop it off sort of through there. Oh. Now there's no guarantee that there's time left for that younger pumpkin to develop fully, but I at least want to give it a bit of a chance. All right, there we go. Ah, it is damaged. What a shame. Oh, I didn't keep a close enough eye on any of these pumpkins. That means all of them probably have to be frozen, or I might even look into canning pumpkins. Alrighty. Now the best way, of course, to store pumpkins like this is just in a cool place, a cool dark place. But any that are damaged aren't going to last. So this is another one that I'm going to have to preserve in some way. So I'm going to have to look into canning some pumpkin. But I'm definitely going to give this one a go in the pantry, just so I don't have to do anything with it. Okay, I'm going to get these out of here and we're going to get down to the swales. My ducks are all quiet and relaxing over there. They're not going to like what I'm about to do. Just next to them there are a couple of trees that I'm planning on getting down. These trees here are all self-seeded. Now I have, over the last couple of years, sort of chopped a few of them down, but they've regrown again. And they're just getting too large, impacting some olive trees that I've got planted down here. This is the tree that I thought I might take out first, and the last time my cows and sheep and everyone were through here, I gave them access to it. And they actually love to strip the bark, which I didn't care about in this case because this tree's going to be going anyway. This is why I try and fence off my trees from my grazing animals. You can see where I last chopped it off and where all these branches have just sort of gone and said, well, I'll just go this way instead. But because that one is so damaged, I don't think I need to rush to get that down now. But I might kind of address maybe these two here and perhaps the one next to my other olive tree. A few years ago when I planted these olives, I put them here because of the full sun that they'd receive, not realising that all these trees were going to grow and shade them out. So the time's come, I've got to return them to their full sun. This is a self-seeded eucalypt, and it's looking like a beautiful tree actually, so I'm not sure That will probably shade things out, but for the moment, I'll just see how things go with that one. A couple of years ago, I did actually plant this one. This is a strawberry gum. And if you crush the leaves, you can get the scent of strawberry from that. And it is used to kind of flavour foods. And that's why I planted that one. So we'll just work at deforesting this section. That one's down. Well, half of that tree's down anyway. I think I'll work on some of this area and maybe get down these smaller ones here. Because at the moment, that one is not an issue, with most of its foliage being up there. Gosh, it's already so much lighter right through there. So I'm going to attack these ones around my little olive tree next. I didn't think they'd hang around on the bank for long. Look at that sun coming through now. This little tree's not going to know itself. Now I've just got to get this chopped up a bit. Look at this tree. I'm just going to try and get off the branches first. Well, that was actually quite tricky getting these branches down. They were all sort of interwoven with each other. So you didn't quite know where they were going to come down. Now, I only lost one branch off one of my little olive trees, so I consider that's pretty good. I know somebody did suggest tying the branch off to sort of a vehicle or a tractor or something so that you can kind of pull it in the direction you want it to go. But my soil's pretty soft at this time of year with the rain starting, so I think I've missed that opportunity to get my tractor out into the paddocks. Well, that's all the trees and branches I'm going to get down for today. I'm going to clear these up before taking down these two trees. I just think it's wise to clear your space around the trees so that you can move out the way quite quickly and not get, have a trip hazard in the way. Always make sure I give a bit to the grazing crew. They like to have a bit of a nibble. Sometimes they just like a bit of a rub. It's late morning and I've been slow getting out here today because I've been racking my cider before I headed out. This morning was actually quite frosty out in my paddocks, but it didn't hit my garden, thankfully. Now this morning I'm going to deal with a couple of Tagesaste trees that are in the middle of my veggie garden. They're just self-seeded here, and I thought I might be able to leave them to flower for the bees during spring, but they're actually getting quite large. And I've got enough tall trees to deal with, as you've seen, so I think I'm going to give these guys a chop. I'll do what I can with my loppers for the moment, but leave most of the trunk in. I'll just take all of those trimmings down to be shredded. Well, that feels a lot better there now. Next up, I'm just going to grab my sunflower head, which looks like it's good to go. The bag has kept it nice and safe. Doesn't that look fantastic? And all these little seeds are ready to come out. So I'll be able to plant lots more sunflowers next year. I'd love to have lots going out in the swales. Definitely tell it was time to pick this. They've got a few little seeds dropped off into the bag. So I'll make sure I gather those ones too. This little girl will have to find a new place to live. Those seeds are just ready to come away. Come on, little girl, let's find you somewhere else. Ah, she flew away. Now to the main event for today, and that is my carrot bed. Now I'm going to uncover these carrot seedlings because it's time. If we look down this end, it's looking pretty sad, and I think the slugs have won. My beer traps just got caught a couple of the really big slugs, which apparently eat the smaller slugs, so that's kind of been a bit pointless. Now what I'm going to do once we've got these uncovered, there's some nice slug food, is clear some vegetation back there because that is just beautiful slug habitat. And I'll kind of weed around these onions. But what I think I might do is just transplant quite a few of these onions and create a border along that edge. One of my viewers, Gary, keeps telling me that onions will help protect my carrots if I kind of interplant them. But I think maybe if I can clear some space here, put a row right along here, that's going to be my last ditch effort to help these little guys. Another idea though I did have was once I've got it cleared, I might put just a layer of netting across the seedlings that still are here, and maybe put some planks along the edges in a hope that the slugs will be under that and I can just sort of pick them up and throw them out. I might also come out tonight just to physically grab them as well. I don't know what else to do. This is my last ditch effort. If this fails, then I'm just going to be happy with the carrots I've got. One surprise pumpkin in amongst my pumpkin patch. There's always one, isn't there? So hopefully I haven't cut the vine to that one, so I've left it as best I could just there. So it's still attached here, but I did cut off the other end. I've chopped back 2 Tagasasti today and discovered yet another one, but this one might still be small enough to dig up, and perhaps I can transplant that to my swale. I always hate disturbing these guys. Off you go, buddy. Off you go. I've just chopped up a whole heap of vegetation that was just in the path actually, and that's where that little frog came from. Heaps of slugs in here. So I'm going to take that all up to the chickens and they'll be able to enjoy that. And the little frog can go on to enjoy the slugs somewhere else. Now I've got most of that cleared now. This bit here was a pathway. You can see there's a little bit more wood chips on it, but a lot of this here is just dug up soil from a big rat's nest that was kind of burrowed in here. So I'll just spread that around up here. But next we're going to have a look at where the onions are. And I'm going to start by kind of weeding that area, and then I might transplant some of those just along the edge of this garden next to what will be the path. Now this patch here seems to be the furthest patch. All of that is just wilderness, we'll call it. And I think the onions kind of go up through there. This tree's right bang in the middle of it. So I'm going to try and kind of weed around all of that and maybe take a whole bunch of some of these and separate it out and get that planted. You can see where the onion bed is now. I've kind of chopped out a little border around it. But just over here you can see why I've got issues with rats eating the pumpkins over there. It's one deep little rat hole there, and just at the edge of my onion bed there's kind of another little one there. they're just kind of right throughout this garden. Anyway, I'm not going to poison them. We're just going to live with them. Now I'm just going to take this one big clump at the corner here and see what we can do with it. Lots of grasses in amongst it as well. We can get rid of those, I think. And I'll just try and separate all of these little plants out. And we can get all of that replanted. Got my onions planted, and I've got the netting over the top, and I've kind of buried the edge to sort of fill in the gaps that would have been underneath those boards. I think you've really got to be a lover of carrots to kind of go to this length to keep those slugs at bay. It's 24 hours later with our zucchini preserving. I'm going to take the weight out, and you can see that there's plenty of liquid that's drained out of our vegetables with that salt in there. Now all we've got to do is drain those veggies. And I just give them a bit of a press to make sure I get as much of that salty solution out of there. And then the veggies go back into your container, to which we add 500 ml of, well, the recipe calls for white wine vinegar, but I find that that's pretty expensive when you get the no preservative version. So I use part apple cider vinegar that I make myself and just white vinegar. And we're going to leave that for an hour just to absorb all that vinegar. It's an hour later, and we just need to put the weights back on again and leave this for 12 hours. Around 12 hours later, you just need to drain off all the vinegar. Squeeze the vegetables to get as much liquid out as possible and add back to the container. Then mix in some dry oregano, dried chili flakes to taste, and some chopped up garlic cloves. And we'll just mix all of that around. You add in 2 to 3 tablespoons of olive oil to the jar you're going to preserve it in, and just fill it. Now I usually use this just sort of as an antipasto vegetable, you know, along with salami and cheeses and things. And they're quite delicious, and it's just a different way to preserve your vegetables. And when it's packed full, you just top it up with olive oil to make sure everything's covered.